Welcome to Proudly Said, where we bring bold voices and real stories together. I'm John Hyland, Scouse, queer, and still trying to make sense of it all. And this space is for the stuff we don't always say out loud, though we probably should. Let's get into it. Again, I love my guests because they treat me with a fabulous venues. We're currently in heaven because we're filming right before Pink Pony Clubs, and I'm joined by the fabulous Franz Genau.
Exactly.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Well-ish. Franz Genau, German tracking, Chaos Demon, and today I'm podcasting like every toxic bro. Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming and being 15 minutes late.
Diva. It's bloody Easter. I forgot. I just thought I could rock up here, and then there was traffic. So yeah, I'm blaming Easter and Jesus. So.
We're going to get cancelled. I think we should start with this. We're in heaven for Pink Pony Club at time of filming. So just straight in there, what is Pink Pony Club?
Pink Pony Club is an old drag competition that was invented by the lovely pretentious Dross, and she asked me to host it. So here I am feeding my narcissism, but really it is about giving old characters like myself a space to compete, show their talent in a way that is also sustainable. So all our competitors are getting paid. All our competitors are staying till the end to show their talent. So there's nobody being kicked out. So it's a very wholesome thing, but also there's an edge to it. And really I only got involved because I like being in the front row and watching new talent come along. So purely self-indulgent, and I love hosting.
Well, you say front row, you're on the stage, baby.
Yes, I am. That's the true front row for all you peasants.
So I suppose let's get into it from a Franz perspective.
Yes.
So for the layman's terms, Franz is drag king.
Yes, absolutely right.
Tell me more. What, like, about where the character came from, why a drag king? Because some people would associate the art form that you should technically be called a drag queen.
Yes.
So let's go into that. Let's delve deep.
Let's delve deep right from the get-go. So you're right, I'm a drag king, and you're also right that people like myself, cisgendered men, usually would perform drag as queens. But there's a growing number of people that do not necessarily prescribe to those roles, drag kings or drag things. But drag kinging itself
I like that.
has been around for eons and is usually done by people who are not really in that kind of drag race bracket, I suppose. So I'm a little bit of an odd one out in the drag king community. And I think that's important to say because I'm not representative of this community. There are loads of others that are doing this for years and who have different experiences to this. But this character, Franz Genau, kind of came out of a lie, I suppose.
Oh, of a lie?
Yeah, lied to myself. Ooh, you want it deep, you're getting deep. Because I'm usually just an illustrator doing queer art, homoerotic art usually. And somewhere in this process, I thought I could also just do that on my face.
We do love the canvas.
Yeah, exactly. And I kept lying to myself, thinking I'm purely doing this for Instagram or for myself. I would never be on stage. And then I slowly itched my way into the different queer spaces. I was first at parties dressed up like this, and then started performing. And now can't get rid of me.
That's a nice transition, though, because I think that's how most, I suppose, I'm going to call it a character, so forgive me if that's not the correct terminology.
Right. Call out the fakeness of it all. Jeez.
I mean, the fakeness, that is fabulous. But I suppose it's finding your feet. So obviously you've utilized your face as a canvas, which is then, forgive the phrasing, it's popped off the page.
Oh, yeah, I like popping off the page. Yes, I think initially I was very high concept, and a lot of drag artists start that way, that they have these assumptions. This is how I need to behave. This is the character. This is how the numbers are going to look like. And I had on the vision board things like George Michael, things like vampires, really moody, really broody, really masculine, loads of dark rooms, glory holes. This is PG, by the way. I think you need to bleep a lot there. Anyways, that was the vision board. And then when I first performed, the usual person that I am is already quite camp and not super mask for mask. So then that's heightened on the stage. Plot twist, I'm really flamboyant and not at all. I'm like, Hua! So I boxed myself in and then had to realize actually as a performer, you kind of also need to just go where you are taking the number or where this thing kind of comes out of you. So yeah.
So I suppose as a persona, because I think when we talk about the characters within drag, some people like to like give their character a bit of a personality. So what would you say, Francis? 'Cause I think what you just discussed there is like, well, I took it as a bit of like a high art formation, but which is definitely what I'm looking at. But when you come from your persona, what would you describe Franz as?
I think Franz is the holidays from my brain, because I think in general life, everything is quite stressful. The planet is burning. The Tories, no, not even the Tories, the bloody government overall are like labeling people as certain brackets of women and are being turfy all over the place, and the economy is tanking. So really everything is just really stressful.
Yeah.
So I'd like to have Franz as kind of that holiday where I don't have to necessarily think too much about life. And obviously there's still loads of political commentary in it, but it's more like a love and a wink and being a bit more funny and a bit more rude maybe than I can be in real life. So I always, every time when I do a number or when I do like a stand-up routine or something like that, I think, is this funny to me and am I relaxing? And if it's becoming too like headstrong, or if it's becoming too like rational, conceptual, then I need to step back and think, no, actually, you're being too logical here, you're being too much your usual self. Let's go dumb. And then I take some poppers and create in the numbers.
I love the thought behind it. So I suppose that kind of goes into a little bit of like what you do on a maybe not a day-to-day basis, but a regular basis is your artwork. You mentioned it as part of the I suppose where Franz came from. Yeah. So how does that like kind of blend, I suppose? Because does that make sense? Like,
yeah, absolutely. I think the queer art that I'm doing and the homoerotic aspects that I'm doing, they're having like this kind of pop art feel. They're like bubbly and they're colorful, but there's always a message underneath it where it's about visibility, where it's about why is it being censored on Instagram, or why you're feeling a particular way about this. I did a solo exhibition, I think like 2 years ago already, here in Liverpool. And we had like a section off area that was the more explicit parts. And there were like loads of straight people in that venue going in, and they had like really different reactions. Some were like kind of giggling, others were like really shocked or offended that would be in a normal space, whatever that is. So I suppose growing up with this and having these kind of conversations with my art just as the placeholder made me then also more confident than putting myself out there afterwards now as a character or performer, because I kind of already had those conversations or anxieties through my art and kind of started coping with this, but also started to become more self-confident. And I suppose coming into drag also later, because I don't know whether you can guess, but I'm not 21 anymore. Don't say anything. It comes with a self-assuredness.
Yes.
Because I do not know how people are doing it that are just 18, that are just 19. It's always really inspiring to me, because they're already doing things that I wouldn't have done in their age. But on the other hand, I also think it's sometimes an advantage to start this slightly older and not giving a fuck anymore.
Well, I think that from what you've described, your journey was, there was a clear like pathway through it of how we've come to be who you are. And if anything, like, and don't come for me, queens.
They're coming for you, queen.
They are definitely going to come for me after this. It's like, it sounds like there was no actual like intention to what I see in front of me, but it's happened, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I think I'd like to think that it is more organically grown.
Yeah.
Organic meat, you guys. It's really tasty.
But a lot more expensive.
Me. No, I think because there is a lot of lived experience that can be channeled into this, where I don't need to think, what is the message, or how am I turning this into a cohesive thing, because it comes organically from within. Makes also life so much easier, and I think it also gives the audience a unique way to connect. There are a few performers that do it that way, and that gives people more of an intimate in, without necessarily like still pulling the veil back. I like the idea of people not knowing actually who the fuck is in front of them. But still having enough authenticity to feel like, oh, we're actually sharing a moment, we're having the same energy. I like these kind of moving parts of drag.
I like that as well. And I think just because you were giving me the updates as you were getting here, and I'm not going to go into the fact you were late, again.
Actually, I think I need to go now.
But obviously, I know a lot of drag performers, and when they're coming to events, gigs, whatnot, kind of come with that half-baked look. So, how this is going to segue into a different question, but this is a definitely defined look. What's the reaction on the street when you're coming to a gig?
Usually, I'm usually quite good. I'm always in this like anxious headspace. If I like get into an Uber or something like that, people will make a
Drive
stupid
away.
comment. Yeah, drive away. Usually, the other thing is also I'm wearing glasses and I can't wear contact lenses. So when I'm then
Right.
just stumbling out of my house trying to find an Uber, I usually just claw at random cars until I can get into one. So
I'm with these.
usually that goes quite well. You meet loads of unique people. But usually the reaction is quite positive.
Right.
So the best example was I performed 2 years ago for Eurovision, like when we had Eurovision in
Fabulous.
Liverpool.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
gorgeous. But I wasn't yet that familiar with traveling and drag. I would usually
Right,
get
okay.
ready at the gig and not just traveling around with like a full face on. So I was really nervous. And we were like several drag artists getting in the car, and we had like this proper salt of the earth scouser who then turned to us and was like, "Did you do that yourself? Oh, that's amazing. Oh my God, you're doing the city really proud. We're putting our best foot forward." And I was like, "That is so nice." And I think sometimes there is this fear and the divide obviously perpetuated by the media that they're against us, we're against them. Well, actually, if you're meeting people, like for example in an Uber, there is a lot of positive things that are happening. People just being in awe, for example, of the art. That said, I'm also fully aware that even with a lippy on, still reads masculine, and
Yeah.
you still can tell that there's a cisgendered man underneath, or at least that's how people read it often. So I think some of that is still also saving me in a sense where other
Yes.
people have worse experiences when they're out and about on the streets.
So I was literally about to make a comparison to like even like within the LGBT community in general. So me as a cisgendered gay man, still like I know I can be camp in a sense, but you get in the taxi and straight away you're like, lads,
Yeah.
no, I missed the football. Couldn't give a flying fuck about the football.
I do
No,
that
missed
too,
it. I missed
but-
it.
Yeah,
I can
Liverpool
imagine
are
you
doing
doing
really
that.
well, right? All those guys in nylon outfits. Washable, practicable, flammable.
Flammable.
That's what nylon is. And then you set the tone. They know they can't fuck with you, you know?
Okay. But on that, I suppose this is odd. You know what? You're just fascinating, and I don't want to focus too much on Franz, but I think the Franz conversation is so unique. So based off that and the art, I realise I've how slouched and comfortable I've just got.
Yeah, that's how men get around me. Vulnerable and comfortable.
Do you see yourself as an activist? I know, in a sense, we're all activists by
Yeah.
existence, but through your art and through Franz.
No.
Okay, interesting.
I think I'm engaged in activist work, but I think the label activist is too big of a set of shoes to fill for me.
Okay.
Because I know that there are people out there that devote their whole life to it who are much more read up on the issues that we're facing, but also how to navigate this, how to bring people together.
Right, okay.
That said, I do think if you're doing drag right, you are engaged in activism, and you should be a sheer leader of the community as much as bringing community together. I think Tross sometimes says that, where she kind of like summarizes it as, it doesn't matter how expensive your drag is or how good your makeup is, but if you're like
Doing
the
drag,
community leader,
yeah.
that's the drag. It's the kind of putting the mirror up in front of the community, but also creating safe spaces. So in that sense, I'm engaged in this. But
Yeah, because you've created one
yes,
alongside Joss. Because like as I was speaking to Joss before we started recording, I was just asking how ticket sales have been in terms of the last. This is week 3, right? Isn't it?
yes, that's week 3.
And they've been very consistent,
Yeah,
and that's a beautiful thing. You created
consistent,
this
but
space.
also still different people coming. So I thought it would be just
same people.
first audience, second audience the same, and we just keep it consistent like this. But that there's also an exchange of new
that.
people coming in. That's really nice. So
I love that. So going on to your art, Queer Artisan. What you mentioned it before, like it's usually quite homoerotic and that
Yes.
kind of thing. So are you like a commissioned artist, or what's the crack? How did you get into that? That was a real dirty giggle there. I'm intrigued what answer I'm gonna get.
Well, I think I got into it just because I've been always drawing my entire life. Like, as long as I can remember, I was set somewhere drawing, sketching, and I allowed myself to, at some point, also go down more the naughty direction. So for the older people amongst us, you might still remember Tumblr. Fun times.
Bitch, you just call me old because I was on Tumblr?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, because like youngsters nowadays, they would not know what the fuck that is.
Very true. You're right.
That's where I had a blog. I just kind of posted things, started also then exploring maybe a little bit more erotica. And from that, I kind of built something more consistent that kind of moved alongside the art that I was doing in everyday life, meaning I was working originally for a vintage fashion magazine in Germany, like an independent one. And I was doing art for them, illustrating for them. And even though it might not look like there's a lot of overlap, the vintage community had a lot of burlesque artists in our studio. We had a lot of like tattooed to the eyeball bouncers, a lot of like people that were from like the cabaret underbelly.
Yes.
And kind of those things started blending together quite early on. And I think that's what makes then this character as well, that kind of backdrop of the experiences and then moving into more queer art. And nowadays I'm a commissioned artist, so I cannot be fucked with anything like t-shirt sales and poster sales.
Booked and blessed.
Just because it's so stressful. But usually I get commissioned either for parties or for theater companies, or I do drag merch. For example, I did Black Pepper's drag merch.
Oh, fabulous.
So we love Black Pepper. Thank you very much. If you want to commission me, next
drop.
season is surely cast already. So there we go. Yeah, so I love doing stuff like that and then spiral from there into performing.
And I could not say this without mentioning. So obviously at the start of this year, you did a fabulous piece dedicated to the Vivian.
Yes.
And the family loved it.
That is amazing. Yeah, I didn't know about this at all until you told me after it happened. I mean, I didn't know the Vivian personally, but being obviously in the drag scene in Liverpool, that person has left a mark. And it was purely just wanting to do something. I think like despite me doing obviously homoerotic art, there are those moments where I think I find something that I can do to kind of express a mood that is not just the erotica side. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to really just pay a authentic tribute. And yeah, got a bit teary when you then DM'd me and said that you shared it with the family. That was really nice. Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm glad I made you cry.
Loads of men did. Thank you so much. Get in line.
No, it was lovely. I attended the funeral and passed it on, and it was like, thank you so much. So it was a beautiful little tribute. So hopefully it's on everyone's mantelpiece. You mentioned before, and obviously we can hear it from the accent. You are not originally from Liverpool. So what's the story there?
Birmingham. Yes, it's Birmingham, you guys.
I love doing these podcasts with drag artists. I haven't got to think of anything entertaining because it just comes out. Of course, yeah. So that was really wild. You mentioned before, so you're originally from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the tale? What brought you to Liverpool and that kind of jazz?
Just life. Like I moved around a lot, enjoying life. I was in Netherlands, I was in Australia, then I was here.
Wow.
I met love, so I stayed. And yeah, I think part of me moving around that much is again also something that gives me a little bit more in my Rolodex to play with.
Yes.
Where like people that are just coming out on the scene or didn't have like maybe the opportunities / privilege to do those things might not have that kind of wealth to build from.
He's just saying he's old again, you know.
Yeah, I am very old, so it's fine, but I still look gorgeous. So, anyways, there's going to be a nightmare to edit for you.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, but I think despite what's currently going on in the UK and despite how maybe the atmosphere is and everything feels like it's constantly a burning pile of trash, there's a lot of good things about the UK, and I'm becoming a very big advocate for the UK and Liverpool particularly.
We are a different breed, aren't we, really?
Yes. And I really found a home away from Germany here with a community that is like really soul to the earth, but also really truly expressing how they're feeling
Yes.
and having their heart
Oh
on
yeah,
the sleeve.
if a Scouse is pissed off, you will know about
Yeah,
it.
they seem always pissed off, but here we are.
Don't book this bitch.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of like in the UK, I witness a similar sickness as in Germany, where people just talk themselves down. It's like,
Right,
oh, we're
okay.
not that good, or
Yes.
everything's
Yeah.
a bit shit.
Gotcha.
And like it is like politics is shit right now. There's no denying. But the people here, they're really lovely. And I think the biggest strengths that the UK has that they never get credit for is how eccentric you guys are.
Okay,
So-
please elaborate.
The way that you carry yourself, the way that comedy is being done in this country, the
Yeah.
way that fashion evolves and has loads of different subcultures. I think that's something that you would never get away with on a German street. And here everyone's kind of embracing it. If I want to
Yeah.
wear a leopard print,
I will wear a leopard
yeah,
print.
you wear a leopard print. And it doesn't feel like a character that people put on. It feels authentically expressed. And yeah, I just feel like that is something I find massively enjoyable, like really inspirational, and something that people should
I find it,
be more proud of.
where you comment on people like, you know, they just express themselves how they want to express themselves. I sometimes that's something I want to do more of, and I sometimes struggle with it for my own inner demons. But I do know when you see someone on the streets, like you're in the Liverpool city centre, you're walking down Church Street, and you see someone a bit eccentric or a bit
Yeah.
out there in their
Yeah.
expression, you will see the odd person kind of give it like a little look as if to say, the F.
Yeah.
But then in the same vein, it's more a case of good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I just appreciate that part of the UK, and I think people do not talk enough about this. So state, now you can't get rid of me. The immigrant is here to take your jobs. Thank you very much.
Do you see any like interchanges between where you've come from and where you've traveled to with Liverpool in terms of like, because you mentioned how you've brought that lived experience to your art and your drag. Is there any like connections you see from across the way?
Yeah, so I was born in Hamburg, which is a port city, biggest red light district in Europe. So check it out if you want to catch something. And also, I was then raised in Cologne, which is a very working class city. So there is a lot of similarities between those three cities where I feel like I can gel with a certain type of culture because I've already experienced it elsewhere.
Yep.
So there's more of an in for me, where other people might find that difficult to engage with or do not know what to do with it. So that feels like home to me, I suppose. There is also the exchange in a lot of artists from the UK being really appreciated in Germany. So we have a lot of great artists who originally came from the UK that are now performing in Berlin or
fabulous.
Cologne, and a real interest in getting this over there. And I've produced cabarets before also in Germany, where we then constantly think, how do we get people over there? It's obviously quite expensive. My dream is to get like a bunch of the people here, maybe some of the ponies that we're having, and then going to Germany, having some cabarets there. It would be lovely.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, get the UK over there.
Make Pink Pony Club international.
Yeah. Call me Keir Starmer. We're doing reintegration, Brexit, fuck it. The power of drag, cabaret. There we go.
Well, yeah, drag, bringing people
Have I
together.
found my political niche? Is that what it is now?
Well, this is why I asked the question about do you see it as an activist? So when you immediately said no, that was actually a bit of a surprise to me, because I think this yourself, Dross, this side of the drag community, shall I say, I would say a bit more on the political side of things. So it's quite interesting that you would say, I don't see myself as one.
I think I just have an issue with labels, not that I'm like, oh my God, not labels. I just always instantly get anxious. So for example, when I was doing my first exhibitions, and Laura, who is my curator for that show back then, hi Laura, she's fabulous, but she was like, we're getting you out there, and she got me into the radio, she got me in Attitude magazine twice.
Oh, fabulous.
But she was obviously driving the artist angle.
Yes.
And I was like, can we just call myself illustrator? Because artist feels like you're having something to say while I just draw willies. And she was like, no, you need to drive this, you need to embrace this. I think I just have an issue sometimes with labels where I think, am I actually living up to whatever people attach to that term?
So it's more of a case of, I'm doing what I'm doing because I want to do it.
Yes.
If it has some outcome or people get some
If you want to call
meaning.
it gorgeous, innovative, intelligent, exciting, that's you saying it, not me.
I love that. I love that. So I've got this little segment where I want to put like a Scouse spotlight, because this is very Scouse. The way you described Scousers, that's why I want this podcast to be from a queer perspective.
Amazing.
If you were to like think of one thing from Liverpool, be it a person, why is my mind gone blank? A person, an event, a place, anything that you'll think, that's what I think of when I think of Liverpool. What would you think of?
Easy. I'm thinking of Eat Me, because that is the cabaret, the old cabaret that feels like it's been going for ages. But
does,
that's because I arrived in 2018. That was the first thing that I saw. And they really create this scene in the Baltic Triangle where they bring loads of unique performers, loads of diverse performers, and it always feels like you're somewhere right at the zeitgeist, like something fresh, something a bit punky, something that sometimes also feels maybe slightly unrehearsed. But there's the beauty.
I love that.
I don't see something that feels overproduced and rehearsed and somebody is just rolling a program. It feels always like something is happening and you don't know. It might even feel a bit dangerous. I remember the very first performance that I saw was Midget Bardot, who is performing on top of a ladder with fake boobs, like balloons filled with lube, singing "What's Going On."
I was already went into defensive stance.
And stabbed those boobs. Lube went all down the ladder. She couldn't get down anymore. And I just sat in the audience. I think that was my first year. And I was like, wow, I found home. So Eat Me, highly recommend this. What else is Scouse? Me now.
Absolutely.
I'm saying the
Honorary
next
Scouser.
event that is coming these summers, keep an eye out. It's going to be also in the Baltic, but I can't announce this yet, so this is pointless.
But I do like by the time this goes out, it might be.
Yeah, just edit whatever I want to say here. Just go over it.
I do like the way you highlighted the Baltics. I do think there's like a little, I wouldn't say a niche, because I think it's very much now become mainstream to a sense.
Yeah.
Is Eat Me, Sonic Youth.
Oh yes, love Sonic Youth.
Well, you know what's really sad actually, because I don't know if you look at your Facebook memories much at all, but I do every so often and then get a bit upset. I saw recently, it must have been very, very recent, History, Beers for Queers.
Oh, I heard about this.
Hosting their closure. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, someone will. I'm pretty sure that was in the Baltic as well, but that was like another different event for those who don't necessarily feel like the Pride Quarter has what they want to go and enjoy. And that's no criticism on the Pride Quarter.
Oh, not at all, yeah.
But people want different things.
Yeah, and I think we're getting to a point now where these different areas in Liverpool talk again with each other. I don't know because I haven't been here that long, whether that was a point before and then we kind of lost it. But you keep thinking about Liverpool as those different segments.
Yes.
And now that, for example, we can have Pink Pony Club and Heaven and have contestants that are part of Gay Town, but then also having people that would be more in the Eat Me bracket or more the theatre bracket, and like getting all those things mixed back together again. I think part of this is like the work that people are doing on the ground, that they're talking to each other. We also had really lovely events like an exhibition. Was that last year with Magnus Hastings? You were part of this?
Yes, last year.
So I feel like
the Pride Month last year.
That helped bring people together as well, to have that kind of interchanging.
I think there was one very specific image that had two. Yeah, it was two of the queens from here who've got that more of that alternative look.
Yes,
and then I'm pretty sure it was Brenda, Shania, and Big D. I think.
I don't know. I only had eyes on myself. Sorry, I wasn't there as well.
But in terms of the visual, it was two very distinct styles of drag in one image, and it's like you wouldn't necessarily see that. So again, like what you said with Pink Pony Club, it is that differentiation, and people are experiencing a different type of art. Yeah,
but that people like yourself or Eat Me or so on, or Dross, are making that effort to bring those people together. It really helps now to feel more like, oh yeah, I can see myself in Gay Town performing here as well.
Yes.
So yeah.
I love that, and I've loved this conversation.
I love this conversation. So we have another 2 hours to go. Now I'm starting my audiobook. Chapter 1, The Early Years of Franz. Lederhosen, are they for you? We'll find out later.
Oh my goodness. What do we have in store in the future for Franz, what you can talk about?
Well, we have still several iterations of Pink Pony Club. God knows when this is coming out, but if it comes out in 2025, you can still watch the finale, at least. That's 24th of July, Pride, here in Liverpool. It's also going to be here.
Yes.
There might be also iterations before that you can already watch. Who knows what's happening? There's going to be a queer summer. That's all I can tease, and it's going to be in the Baltic, produced by...
Love it.
This gorgeous bitch.
We're going to talk after.
And otherwise, I don't really know. I'd like to, do more things all around the place. Oh, this is what's happening. Forgot about this.
Light bulb moment.
I'm going back to the Fringe. So I performed
Fringe.
last year at the Edinburgh
Fabulous.
Fringe, and this year I'm going back to the Fringe. And I think we might bring some of this also to Edinburgh. And also, this is me campaigning to perform for Ruben K. Do you know Ruben K?
I don't.
Well, you look this up later. Look it up, people. Fabulous icon from Australia, and they have a show after their cabaret called
I
the
do.
K-Hole.
I do know Ruben K. He would be a drag king.
Yeah,
Tall.
Well, God knows what they
Well,
look
very,
like.
very tall. Did
Yes.
he do a video talking to young people?
Yes.
Yes!
That was the viral video.
Yes, I
And
know
then
who that is.
He got cancelled for a Jesus joke, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And yeah, that's me campaigning now.
If people want to find Franz or iterations of
Do identify as an otter, you're right.
you couldn't see the hair peeking through the shirt. Where can they find you?
At Queer Artisan, that's on Instagram. Also on Blue Sky, because fuck Twitter, after that bloody Nazi took over. And Germans are the authority on it, so trust
I was
me.
literally about to make that comment. Thought maybe I shouldn't say that, so I'm glad you did.
So no Twitter, but Blue Sky, God knows. They'll probably also be taken over by a billionaire very soon, and then we'll regret our words. But yeah, Instagram, Twitter, that's it. That's
It's at Queer Artisan.
At Queer Artisan. I used to be called, now you're getting an exclusive because I never talked about that before. I used to be called Prostitute of Art.
Prostitute of Art.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I thought, ooh, Lady Gaga and like government hooker, that was that kind of time.
yeah.
Until I was called out rightfully by a sex worker who was like, you're not prostitute. Anyways.
Okay.
But I was at Amsterdam Pride. And back then I was doing more things like Instagram was more connected, I suppose, to their base. And I was chased 3 times by people while I was with my friends saying, are you the prostitute? And I was like,
Are you the prostitute?
a name change has to happen. So now it's at Queer Artisan.
I love that. Well, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was lovely.
I did enjoy it. But so if you want to find more from the podcast, it's at Proudly Said on pretty much the same handles that you said.
Yeah.
If you've got a question you want to get in touch, it's hey@proudlysaid.co.uk, where we're going to have lots of interesting conversations and tell the story of this community. See you next time.
Bye.
You've been listening to Proudly Said. If it meant something to you, pass it on. If it didn't, maybe it will one day. Either way, stay kind, stay loud, and stay proud. Thanks for listening.